All right, welcome to the Golf Coach Podcast. Matt, how you going, brother?
Good, mate. Thanks for having me. I'm always flattered that people want to hear possibly what I've got to say.
Mate, we're excited. We're excited to have you on. You know, like I've had a few coaches on recently, and I like to kind of mix it up a little bit. And my goal for the podcast to have is to educate people on everything around golf and health. You know, I've actually got a bit of a guy who I look up to in the diet world coming up next.
Oh, interesting.
You know, so to help people with that as well. So he's really cool. He lives over in Bali as well. So, but today we've got Matt. Matt, where are you, brother?
I'm in Brisbane, in sunny
How
Queensland.
long have you been in sunny Queensland for?
That's a good question. I did school up here. I'm originally a New South Wales boy, country is New South Wales, and then I did school up here, and I've been here ever since with a little bit of intermittent travel in between, whether that's in London for a year or some traveling with some golfers sporadically.
Do you support New South Wales or Queensland in the origin?
Can I plead the fifth on this one?
Are you kidding, right? You support Queensland, seriously?
No, I'm a New South Wales boy, but I cop it left, right, and centre up here. Unfortunately,
good.
Yes.
Good. Well, it's tough. It's tough being New South Wales supporter at the minute.
Well, it's particularly in Queensland, yeah.
What did they say? I remember when Greg Bird moved up there from New South Wales, and he said, "I love Queensland. I just hate the people here." When you're playing for the Gold Coast, mate. Hey, so and tell you what, it's people listening, you know, internationally, right? So Brisbane's up the north side. I'm down in New South Wales, which is down a little bit lower. I'm probably about 12-hour drive from Matt, and it's a lot colder. If you can hear that little tinkling noise in the background, it's my heater at my feet, keeping me warm. But for people listening as well, like, you know, winter in Australia is not like a typical winter, right? So no. I think today we're probably going to get to 20 degrees Celsius, but it's still cold for me this AM. So tell me, so a little birdie tells me you're an exercise scientist. What do you call yourself, Matt? What do you do?
I like to keep it pretty simple. I just go with a strength and conditioning coach. PT, honestly, if people I don't really correct them. If they say that's what it is, I go, yep, that's fine. I'll be whatever you want me to be, and I'll just get on with it. Just try and aim to do a good job.
It's like me, when people ask me my job, I don't say I'm a golf professional. I just say I work in golf.
Yep.
Because it just sounds so much cooler than what it really is. Oh, do you know Tiger Woods? do you know this? No.
We text every week. Yeah, you know, just.
Yeah, I know Tiger. Yeah, he's a great friend of mine. So tell me, you know, I want to get you on a little bit, obviously, to talk about some, you know, I've had some trainers on here before and a few kind of funky things. How did you get into this side of it? Are you a golfer as well?
I am a golfer. I am I play once a week, twice if I'm lucky, although I have a young family, so that can be challenging.
Yeah.
So generally I play on a Wednesday morning. I have a client at 5 till 6, and then I'll sneak out, play my 18 holes, and then my clubs won't see the light of day. They stay in my boot for the next 7 days, and then we go back out next Wednesday. So,
cool.
I got into the gym stuff when I was 19, so I opened my own gym business when I was 19. So I've had that for 15 years now, and it just so happened that kind of when I got into golf, I then was like, oh, okay, what can I do to improve my own stuff? You know, then as it starts small, usually I help a couple of friends, and then it grows from there. And so my niche kind of found me in the golf, and I was able to marry up two things that I'm really passionate about, which is obviously the health and fitness, and then the golf side of it. And it's given me some very cool experiences. So I'm quite grateful for golf.
Do you feel like the golf industry is turning a little bit and coming around to accepting more kind of health and fitness in the golf industry? Do you think that like the recreational golfer is starting to become more involved in it? Yeah,
I personally think it kind of, with everything, it feeds from the top down. So golf as a sports science, I guess, we're about 10 years behind most other sports. And I think that is a byproduct of, other than your Tiger, who was an anomaly on a number of different fronts, golf has always been regarded as a sport that you didn't necessarily have to be super athletic for. You had people like John Daly, Appy Barnrat, whoever, out there winning and making a living off this, and people going, oh, you clearly don't need to be, you're not like a Michael Phelps swimming type thing, right? So the sports science world then was like, well, how much can we actually do? Left it alone, and so now we're playing catch up. So I think the next 5 to 10 years, there's some phenomenal people in the sports science world now that have got golf in their crosshairs. And so the information we're getting is really cool, but we don't have as much data as if you would, an EPL team or an NFL or that type of stuff. So I think now we are catching up because the top level's doing it. Then you get the notoriety, and then it kind of feeds down to the recreational golfer, and then you're getting with social media. You're getting coaches with a better knowledge of, okay, well, what are ground reaction forces and how do I measure them in a 3D versus just a 2D type thing, and all the rest of it.
And that's interesting as well because, I think part of the reason as well, right, you think about all other sports. So if people are playing football, rugby league, AFL, cricket, whatever they're into, there's an element of exercise at that form of training.
Correct.
So if you go to soccer training or, rugby league training, even back in the day when I was a kid, you cut laps, had to do 10 laps around the thing, 10 push-ups. You had to do some form of exercise anyway. So it was a requirement of that part of training. It wasn't all perhaps skill-based, where the recreational golfer, I spoke to Richard Woodhouse about this, and it's really landed with me that golf is the most poorly practiced sport in the world. Well, one way to look at that is in regards to we only ever look at the technique side of it, and I'm always spending a lot of my majority of my time convincing people that there's more to it. There's more to it than just kind of improving your technique. People talk about getting tired on the back nine. People talk about, getting cramps or, not being able to physically do something or getting lazy on the course. And a lot of that comes down to kind of where you fit in, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Fit into that part of it there. But before we get into it, you were involved with Cam Smith's early kind of career. Is that true?
Yeah, not the early stuff. So Grant's obviously had him since he was 10 or whatever that was. So I came into the picture mid 2017 for about 12 months through there, which was a phenomenal experience.
Was that early in his professional career, or was he established in his professional career by then?
He was, I would say he's established, not as established as he was now, but he was playing on the PGA Tour, had one win, which was with Jonas Blix at the...
That's right.
It escapes me now. The tournament we're talking about, Zurich.
The two-person event. The two-person event.
The Zurich at
that's right.
New Orleans.
Exciting finish.
Very exciting. And... but so basically he had that and was really starting to make his way. So I think I signed on at 131 in the world, something like that.
Nice.
And we were done at about 32 in the world, something like that. So certainly was rising.
So tell me, when you first get someone like that, like say in Cam's situation, right?
Yep.
And I'm sure he'll be fine to talk about it. Tell me about how does it go? Were you his first? Was he the first time getting involved in the gym? Like, how does that relationship start, and where do you get started?
I guess you've got to have some form of goodwill somewhere. So his team came to me and said, "Listen, we've got an opening here for various reasons, and is this something you'd want to have a crack at?" You got any more stupid questions? Of course. Like, who doesn't want to have a crack at that?
Yeah, of course.
So then there was a bit of a vetting process. I hadn't met Cam at that point. Had to meet him. Obviously, Grant signs off on it, management, all that type of stuff. Because now we know he's $100 million athlete, but at that time he was, we call him a $10 million athlete. But they want to know that you're not going to go in there and ruin a $10 million athlete. So,
of course.
You go through all that process, and I guess your reputation has to speak for itself. So his former S&C was like, listen, I know what this guy does. I know he's not going to ruin him. He's got the same kind of approach that we have. So let's see how we go. And then, you just jump in and then you get into all the technical side of it.
Yeah. So was there anything that you picked up early the Grant, so when we're saying the word Grant, we're talking about a mutual friend of ours who's Grant Field, who's Cam Smith's coach. Was there anything that was identified that they wanted to achieve with you?
More consistency with his gym stuff was one that, that's just not specific to Cam, that's most people. So we were trying to get a little more consistent through there. We didn't really chase a lot of the speed stuff. We actually, in the end, wound Cam back a little bit from his speed stuff because we found getting him trying to swing it, getting out of his shoes, he was losing a little bit of his dispersion. So at that time, he could swing about 114 out of his shoes. And the extra couple of miles, if we dialed him back to 112, he hit more fairways and the ball ended up running out further. So he was actually getting more distance because he was getting the fairway run, as opposed to some of those PGA Tour courses. Once you hit the rough, there is zero run. So
and center to contact as well, and
yep,
less spin, less side spin, all that stuff.
So
okay, interesting.
I guess one of the things that I always, it doesn't matter whether it's with Cam at the top end or just the weekend warriors that I deal with, is the best ability is availability. So what I'm talking about there is making sure that, okay, what do we need to do on a day-to-day basis to make sure that he can play whatever tournaments he wants to play? Like if he has to play 15 tournaments in a row to keep his card, then we need to be able to do that. And there's no point swinging at 125 miles if he can only play once every 4 weeks or once every 2 months.
Yeah.
Because he's injured or he's got something or it's a niggle or whatever it is. And now the likelihood of someone winning 3 weeks in a row, very low, but now that's worth maybe $6 million, right? So if you do something silly or you take him out of play for 3 weeks, 3 months, that's potentially on you, that you've cost them X amount of chance for that money. So that was a big one we focused on as well.
Yeah, so I guess as well, like when we're building, you're building an athlete, we talk about the golf season, and there's a lot of talk about golf season this year in regards to how they lengthened a lot to try and match the live, and it was, on the PGA Tour, it was becoming such a really long season and taxing for these golfers. It is quite taxing, isn't it? It's, playing week to week.
It's so taxing, and it's unlike a lot of other sports, and they don't really have an off. I mean, they used to have an off season, and then they had that. PGA created the wraparound, and I mean, if you're looking to look after your athletes, that's the worst thing you can do. But I understand it's a business, and they're doing that. But the reality is, these guys need an off season where they can chill out, because while it's not the most physically tough or demanding sport, when you put all the pieces together, it's actually really tough. Like there's a lot of walking, and they're not always flat tracks. There's a lot of mental demand on there as well. But again, from the outside, people go, well, they don't even carry their own bags. Like how hard can it be? Like they're not breaking a sweat, and I go, mate, until you've actually been out there and, getting some of those, playing Malaysia, like the CIMB Classic was my first one with Cam, and it was just so hot and hilly, and, they're not just turning up Thursday and playing 4 days and taking their paycheck and rolling home. Like you're getting in Monday, you know how it is, mate. But
yeah, of course, it's crazy. And they're putting so much load. People don't understand the load that goes through the spine as well.
Spine, knee, lead side, all of it.
And you're completely heightened. So when you get to a golf tournament as well, and say they got a 9:00 tee off time, right?
Yep.
And so even they get to day one, before the practice rounds, before the pro-am day, they're probably getting there at 7-ish, getting yourself body ready, everything's heightened. Yeah. You can't be lazy in what you're doing. You're always completely on. And then you finish your 18, finish your round, and you got to get yourself ready for the next day. Like it's a lot more until people are in it. And most people who listen to this only play once a week. When you go to a golf tour, for instance, and people play 4 days in a row on a golf tour, like I do it when I go down to Tasmania, I'm whacked.
Yep.
I'm whacked after 4 days of just playing that, and there's nothing on the line.
Yep.
So it's crazy what they have to go through. What about that's interesting. So let's move from Cam Wright and to another friend of mine, which is not Lucas Herbert. I don't know Lucas Herbert personally, but Dominic as a party, his coach is a good friend of mine. Yes. I talk to Dom a lot, and he's in Brizzy, right?
Big chili addict. Loves a chili. Loves a chili, Dom. Yeah,
Dom's a good guy. I was actually thinking about him a couple of days ago. I got to call Dom, see what's going on. I haven't spoken to him for a few weeks. But tell me, you did some work with Lucas Herbert?
Yes. Yep. So I finished up with Cam, and then Lucas reached out, and so we did some work through there. And then I guess that's, if you talk about ultimately trying to keep an athlete on the straight and narrow in terms of their body, the level where you want them to be be able to perform, that was probably one of the hardest things I've had to do in my career. So we had, so Lucas basically said, all right, well, let's have 4 weeks at home. So same thing, you got to go through that vetting process. So I went to his place. I don't think I've had a more intimidating interview, I guess. I had him, his coach, his caddy, sports psych, his parents went in and out of the room a couple of times, and it was just me just answering questions left and right, which I loved. I don't mind being under the pressure, because I kind of go, right, well, you got to back yourself here. You know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So we did that. So I did a month here in Australia, and then we traveled for 10 weeks straight. He was like, listen, I got to do this stint because I don't, he must have been 150 in the world or something. I don't get to pick my my tournaments. So I flew Brisbane to Manchester and played the British Masters there, and then we went from there to New York, and we played the PGA at Bethpage Black, and that was tough enough in that he holed like maybe a 20-footer for birdie on the last to make the cut on the number. So we were literally the last group in, which meant we were the first group out on Saturday. So we were leaving at like 7:30, get the course, home a bit after 8, and then we had tee off earlier next day, kind of 7 o'clock, something like that. So short turnaround, lots of recovery in there.
What does it look like on the road with a tournament player, say, for 10 weeks straight? What is your role over that 10 weeks?
It really depends who I'm with. So I've just come back about 6 or 7 weeks ago. I did 3 weeks in the States with Cassie Porter. She's on the Epsom Tour. And if you're at that level where you're not quite cemented yet, the general rule is whoever's over there is the jack of all trades. So I was caddying, I was doing everything else that my degree kind of, so I'm doing warm-ups, I'm doing the recovery stuff, recovery protocols, whether that be triggers or massage or your ice bath, this, or you're doing that, get off feet, and then everything in between. So it's like I was chauffeuring, what do we need to do today? Have we been to Walmart and bought all the stuff we need to go in the bag? And you try and get the athlete to do some of this stuff themselves to be self-sufficient. But also you're trying to add as much value as you possibly can in that situation. So slightly different when you get to someone like a Lucas and he's already got Pewey who does the majority of that stuff.
It's a pretty hands-on caddy, Pewey, isn't he?
He loves it. And that can be hugely helpful for a number of reasons. But yeah, so it really changes athlete.
So back to Herbie, Back to Herbie. So tell me, when you're with Herbie, and you mentioned at the start that it was a little bit challenging, was Herbie a good trainer?
Yes and no. Like he when he was in there, he got in and just did what he was meant to do. But some of those guys will just do the bare minimum, which is fine. Hit his couple of sessions and then move on. Herbie's benefit is that he's just a freak. He's just a freak athlete, so he gets away.
I was going to say that's my next thing.
Yeah, he just gets away with it. Like there's guys who don't need to be working so hard in the gym because they've just kind of got it and make it work. And Herbie's one of those guys. So a lot of that was more about just trying to get him to feel like he was in the same space every time. From like, his body feels good, I can do what I want to do. He doesn't have the most conventional swing, so he has these particular feels that he wants to have on a day-to-day basis. And that was hard because we went from New York, we flew to Denmark, and Denmark we flew back to Chicago for the US Open qualifying, and we missed the cut by one, or missed the qualifying by one. Chicago to Vegas, had a training week there. Then we drove to LA, flew from LA to Munich, played an event, went Munich to London, had 2 days kind of rest, and then London to Ireland for the Irish Open, and then Ireland to Scotland, and then we came home.
Wow. So Herbie, when you talk about Herbie doesn't have the conventional golf swing, so I'm talking about Lucas Herbert here, is when I see his golf swing, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Ryan Fox as well at the same time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of right side bend in there coming in through the golf ball.
Yep.
When someone has a little bit more side bend like Herbie does through the golf ball, or in the backswing, he carries a lot of front bend in the setup position as well.
Yep.
Do they, and talk about Ryan Fox, people familiar with Ryan Fox's golf swing as well, do they require a lot of stability in a different type of area?
It's a good question. It's probably less stability from my mind and more of a specific strength for those to be able to maintain that. And anyone can maintain it for a short period of time, but when you're looking at longevity, you want to make sure, okay, what specifically does this athlete need to be strong so that they can swing this swing that's obviously getting them where they need to be, as much as they want, and so they can play as much or as little as they need to, if that makes sense.
Because Lucas just absolutely crushes it.
Yep.
Oh, when he hits it, it's just the compression, and it just, you'd hate to be a golf ball.
Mate,
you'd hate to be one of Lucas's golf balls.
He leaves very little out there. Everything is just full into it.
All right, so talk to me about, for me, society now, right? People talk about a lot of remedies and things like this, and take this pill, take that pill, and it comes into driver. It comes into golf, right? Buy this driver, you're going to hit it further.
Yep.
Buy this, but we're very much victims of the marketing that we're seeing in front of us a lot of the time, right?
Yep.
And, I have big discussions around improving technique to help improve people's, kind of club head speed and stuff like this.
Sure.
But there's a lot of people out there who are neglecting training and thinking a new driver is going to have them drive it better, right?
Yep.
And you were talking there about kind of swinging out of your feet and swinging within your feet as well, weren't you? So before I get to what I'm going to ask you, you see a player, right? If you see a player maxing out with you at 125 mile an hour,
mm-hmm.
What are they, with the driver, what are they gaming? What do you reckon? How fast do you reckon their gamer speed is on the course?
That's interesting. I mean, I don't have any stats specifically for that. I can use myself because I've done this with myself. So if I really step on, I was trying some different driver shafts just last month, and the guy I was testing them with said, listen, I want you just to empty the tank because I want to make sure this shaft is good enough for your fairway finder, but also it doesn't deform too much when you really want to, step on one. So I maxed out at 130.4.
Got the barrow.
Well, it helps if you're going to be a gym guy, you got to be able to at least walk the walk a little bit. So, and I game roughly about 122, 123. I feel quite comfortable at that. So
we could probably call that what, like a 100%, 10%, 13, 95% swing.
Something like that. So then when I'm looking at it, and I think there's an inverted U where if you start chasing stuff too much, you get to the top, like the peak, and then if you it can be time, you can be putting too much time into, say, speed work or swing work, and then something else is being neglected. So are you better off then taking an extra hour of gym work, and if you've already hit that, what we call the minimum effective dose, so the MED, if you've hit that, you'd be better off taking that extra hour and putting it into putting or chipping or something like that, and rather than chasing more swing gains. So once you get to a certain level, we go, okay, well, maybe we reinvest this time. But more so, if my 130 is my max, if I could get that to 135 per se, and if I'm still swinging now at 123, I don't need any more out there as a gamer, but my relative percentage has now come down. So instead of swing of 95%, now I'm only swinging at, say, 90% or whatever the number is. The chances of me losing form and deforming and getting a mishit or all that kind of comes down because I'm not as close to that upper end, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's where I view it from.
I agree. And that's the same as, like, I was talking to you before about DJ, like he chips at 310.
Yeah.
And he's like, he wants to play around that 310 barrier, and that's probably 80%.
Yeah, 100%.
Of what his capacity is.
Yeah, which means he's super consistent with that strike pattern because he's never out of his shoes. He just can basically lean on it. And again, without leaving my lane too much, if you're hitting at 310 and not winning golf tournaments, it's probably not the distance that's your issue.
I agree. Like I've always said, I agree. I agree with you more. It doesn't have to go too far, in my opinion, the golf ball.
Well,
it just doesn't have to.
At some point, I was listening to Patrick Harrington last week, and he was saying it. Once you hit at if you hit at 350, you're almost not going to be able to hit driver on any golf course. Like, there's only going to be a certain number of golf courses before you physically run out of space and real estate, and the lines you're going to take are just going to be ridiculous. And so it's not going to be advantageous at all.
And we talk about the point of no returns measured in golf. So that's basically like the further the ball goes, if you guys are like looking at like a pizza slice, right? Like it just gets wider and wider and wider and wider as it gets further and further, right? Because we're dealing with spin rates as well. So it's difficult to manage spin rates and miss hits. So they just get further and further and further wider away. So there is this kind of limit on, if you can bring that 350 back to like a 320, then it's closer to the fairway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like on that kind of barrier there. But tell me a little bit about, when it comes to training, right? And I talk about in the golf swing, right? I separate the body pivot from the arms and the club.
Yep.
So I like to use two separate entities when I'm educating people. So I see a lot of similarities with a lot of body pivots all around the world, right? and I see a lot of different arm and club structures, right? So I like to separate the two. When you're training someone, you know, say golf specific, and I understand things are all different, right, with everyone. But what's some exercises they can do around, say, to help improve their pivot?
And pivot you mean like just getting that extra thoracic turn through there?
Let's just talk about like the body movement without the arms in the golf swing.
Okay.
So how can they, you know, what are some specific exercises around that? Let's not even talk. Just educate me.
So the way I approach it is, and I think this is a red flag for most people when they're looking, because everyone wants to sell you something, right? And so if they're selling you a golf program, it's very golf specific, which I don't necessarily subscribe to. I think the majority, 90% of what we should be doing in the gym is just being more athletic. So my job as a strength and conditioning coach, or whatever you want to call me, is to make you more athletic, because that makes your job as a golf coach much easier. So if you can say to them, hey, I need you in this position, in X position, in Y position, and they can do it instantly, your job's so much easier. Hey, now from here, I want you to do this or do that, right? So how we get there is we want to pick a bunch of exercises that A, make us more athletic, but B, have some transfer to the golf swing. So the most specific thing to the golf swing is the golf swing itself. So basically, I'm not trying to recreate anything in the gym that looks like a golf swing, if that makes sense. And if I am, it's down to the last 10%. The rest of it is just going to be, let's get strong, let's get powerful. Like we know on that lead side, so we got force plates in our gym, but not our research, but we know that there's 1.6 times body weight through that lead leg when you're hitting driver through there. So do we have the structures in place to be able to maintain that, and not only maintain it for a month, but ongoing as well? Where is our body in space? So let's just get you better to learning, okay, what does a full hip turn look like? Do you actually have the capacity to get into that trail hip? And, okay, are we lacking internal rotation? Like we know if you lack internal rotation on your lead side, that's going to lead to low back pain, or can lead to low back pain. So all of these things, which is when someone comes in, we have a barrage, we put them on the force plates. One of the things I love to do with people is I get them to do what we call an isometric mid-thigh pull. So set them on the force plates, put them in almost like the top half of top quarter of a deadlift position, and it's locked, and I just get you to pull as hard as you possibly can for 5 seconds. So then I get a reading of what is your maximum ability to produce force. Now, let's say it's 5,000 newtons. And so then from there, we'll then give them a rest, and we'll get them to do a counter movement jump. So standing on the plates, I want you to jump as high as you possibly can, like push into the ground, try and hit your head on the ceiling. Like our ceilings, we're in a tin shed, it's 7 meters tall. They're never going to do that, but get in there and push in. And then I get the maximum concentric force that they've pushed into the plates. Now, if your concentric force is only 2,500 newtons, but I know that you can produce 5,000 newtons of force on the first pull, okay, we need to learn to express this strength better. So you've got plenty in the tank, you've got plenty of strength there, we're just not actually expressing it, or the ability to express it is kind of muted, I guess. So then a lot more power stuff, a lot more jump stuff, and have a look at it that way. So
how do we determine athletic? What's athletic?
Oh, how long's a piece of string? Like I mean, one of the things the more time I spend on all the tours around the world, and I stay on the ranges and I look at this, there's a million different ways to swing that golf club. And a lot of them work. And, we know, and I know you talk about, I guess, parameters. As long as you are inside of these parameters, that's basically okay. And they all seem to be able to do that within different variations through there. And so I don't know if I have an answer for that, whether or not there is an athletic thing.
Because some people, like, I would find as well that you don't have to be a gym junkie to be athletic.
Not at all.
Like an athletic person, because you look at someone like a Herbie, right? I'd say he's like athletically gifted,
yes,
to a degree, like through his kind of genetics as well. All right. So talk to, and also, in my golf coaching, and I talk about parameters as well. When I talk about, I definitely have parameters with things that I like to coach within that I know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I talk to other coaches about this, that things that we know that works,
Yep.
and we kind of use those types of parameters. And also, I always find that once you understand the rules, you get really good at breaking the rules, and then you can break the rules to work for you, right?
Yep.
So talk to me about, when you were talking there a lot about ground forces and ground reaction, talking about those force plates. So does this mean that deadlift is a very common compound exercise that you will see?
Yes, although I do think too many trainers are married to the idea that you have to squat, bench, and deadlift. Just they're the 3 powerlifting moves. But if someone has, for whatever reason, a spondylolisthesis and they don't deal very well with that load, I'm not married to the idea that they have to deadlift. I will move them to a single leg. We can get very strong in a single leg movement because we cut the weight down because we're obviously cutting the amount of muscle we've got activating. So then our risk profile goes down as well. So I like to see the person in front of me and see how they move. I don't necessarily do a lot of the golf, like the TPI screenings or the those types of things. I more get my screening from, okay, I'm going to put you through a bunch of movements I just want to see. So I am screening, but I'm not doing it in such a structured way through there. I'll do some stuff, the hip work, okay, what actual range do we have through here, through that? But then also when you've got someone laying on their back and you're playing around with their hip socket and then you get them to stand up, you've automatically just changed what that hip joint is doing. So I don't, I use it as a tool, but it's not the be all and end all. It's just a piece of the puzzle. So deadlifting is definitely in my programs, but it's not the be all and end all.
Yep. And glute strength, you think is apart from just deadlifting, glute strength
huge
is important.
Yeah.
And to me as well, I would you take the notion as well that in today's society, a lot of us people are sitting down, and I'd say every year, I reckon the average person's glute strength is getting less and less and less as our lifestyles have changed.
I don't have any data for that, but it doesn't. It certainly makes sense, doesn't it? So we know
it would.
On that trail side, you've almost got. I've seen some research up to 100% of that glute contraction on that trail side, and then it's about 55% on the lead side through there. But your glutes won't. If you're sitting down all day, they're not going to switch off. You don't need to activate them necessarily. Otherwise, you just wouldn't stand up. You just literally get out of your chair and fall on your face. So it's a little bit of marketing gimmick that you need to activate your glutes. But again, we go back to that.
Activate.
Yeah.
It's a stupid. I hate that.
But if you can, you can make them stronger, and
Yes.
then you've just got you don't need to work as hard to get the same result out of them. Kind of like the swing we were talking about, right? Your maximum contraction, you can just kind of ease into it. So more strength is going to help you through there.
And in my case as well, though, Matt, I've had an issue because I have, had extremely tight lower abdominals, extremely tight hip flexors and psoas muscles, to the fact where it was creating curvature through my lower lumbar.
Yep.
And I was walking very much in quad dominant.
Yep.
So I was walking very quad dominant. So people were thinking about it's like my ass was hanging out and my back was forward.
Yep.
Because to the nature of I was so tight through my lower abdominals, a lot of my day-to-day work was doing that for me. And so for me now that I've done a lot of exercise myself personally, and I live a very similar life to most people who work behind a desk or who, I spend a lot of time bending over as a golf coach. And I've created a lot more length in my lower abdominals, which has allowed me, through my, a bit of glute strength training, to be stronger, more athletic,
Yep.
I guess you could say. So tell me some glute exercise. You mentioned their single legs. What can people be doing to help strengthen their glute region? Like just some simple stuff at home. What do you reckon?
Barbell hip thrust. So if you're just kind of laying flat on your back, you don't have to have a barbell. You can just kind of there, and then it's hips up towards the ceiling. So feet flat on the floor, 90 degrees at your knees, and then hips up to the ceiling. And then you can weight that by putting a barbell on top. From there, I mean, there's no shortage of if you go and Brett Contreras is the self-determined glute guy. If you want to look him up, some of his research is a bit here or there, but also he's got some really good stuff through there. And I guess if we're looking at a whole approach to it, so we know that if you do no training, you will lose up to 1% of muscle size every year that you don't do anything at all. So if you just sit and do nothing, right? And then so then you're starting to lose 2 to 3% of power as well. So I'm sure you see guys come in and they might be in their 5th or 6th decade of life, and they're just like, I just don't hit it as far as I used to. I was like, well, what have you been doing? Well, not a great deal. I was like, well, you're losing muscle size, which is then the cross-sectional area is directly proportionate to how much power and strength you can produce. And so then, well, no wonder you're not hitting it as far. You're not doing anything, right? So you've just got to do the bare minimum. What is the minimum effective dose for you to do so that you can just stay where you want to? Like, you don't have to increase, but if you're just happy, you used to hit at 230 and you're happy to stay there, well, then just find out what the minimum effective dose is and just do that.
So that's just basically the muscles are just basically turning off because they're not needed, and they're just getting less and less because they're not being pushed, right?
Yeah,
so each year they keep like decaying, even though a person might look like they're still staying the same size, I guess, because that'd be difficult to kind of read that, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at between 1% and 3% is actually, I'm not sure you could see that with the eye. Possibly.
But
yeah, if you're not pushing the muscles, the body's very good at being like, well, we're not using this, we don't need it. Let's conserve some energy.
Very adaptive.
Very adaptive.
So tell me, why do I only ever see females doing that exercise in the gym? Every time I go to the Smith machine, there is some girl doing hip thrusters, and I get in the gym early and I look at my routine and I go, I've got to go use that Smith machine because it's going to be lined up with girls doing hip thrusters for the next hour and a half. So I've got to go do it first.
Just all chasing those Instagram booty gains.
All right, I tell you one thing. Okay, talk about glute strength with single leg stuff. To me, like if people are listening, what about up against a wall single leg stuff? They don't even need to have weight, right?
No, not at all. For the most part, with my athletes that I program for who are in season or in tournaments, I give them 2 options. So if they want to go to a gym, so most of them will get given a gym, whether that be, so the PGA Tour will say, hey, here's your gym for the week, or as a trainer, you are expected to go and find a gym and say, right, Cam, I've reached out to this gym. They're going to let us come in. I've paid the $50 for the week or whatever it is. I'm going to pick you up, or you're going to meet me there. These are our session times. The Epsom Tour, they get given a gym. Hey, this is local to the course, girls. Away you go, and through there. But sometimes you're traveling by yourself and you're female and you're like, I'd rather not. I'm in a weird town that I don't know. I'd rather not go to the gym by myself. Is there something I can do in the hotel room? So I give them 2 programs. One is a gym program. The second one is strength-based, isometric stuff that they can do in the hotel room where it just suits. So it's kind of fitting that model or mold of each athlete. So to the point where we even travel, some of my guys travel with blood flow restriction cuffs. So I give them work through the blood flow stuff as well.
Yeah, bands for me come everywhere.
Yep.
Everywhere.
Yep.
Especially when I'm like, I like to do like a little bit of glute medial stuff, so kind of like squatting like a crab.
Yep.
And that to me really gets me feeling good, just gets my body moving.
Yeah.
So, and what about, people can just pick up a weight and, like I've even at the time when we're going through COVID, no one had any, kettlebells were $1,000 and, 10 kilo weight plate was like
ridiculous.
300. I filled up my old we buy our washing detergent in bulk from a local health community place here. It's no chemical free. And I was filling that up with water and holding up against my chest and just doing squats like that.
Yeah. 100%. Honestly, it doesn't matter what it is. We have mums that'll come in and hold their babies. And you're there 7-8 kilos you've just added to your lunges, which is the same as a 4 kilo dumbbell in each hand. And then you want to make it harder. I was like, well, hold your baby out, overhead and top, and now do your lunges. I was like, infinitely harder. So once you understand, I guess, one of those principles of lever length, then you can make exercises easier or harder with very little weight, which is good when you might be in a hotel room and you've got very little.
Yes, I love that. I have another question around exercise as well. And one of the things you mentioned before when you mentioned about becoming more athletic, and, I'm lucky enough to, I work with tour professionals on a lot of like mini tours as well myself, like, Indonesia, Indian, LET access, sometimes I get a few starts in Malaysia European tour, all those ones there. And all the way through to the recreational golfer. And when I get a person who goes to the gym, they're more body aware. And I really feel like they are easier to work with as in making changes because of their understanding of certain contractions and I can use certain terminologies, and they understand it quite well because they've asked their body and they've concentrated on certain areas when contracting or isometric, working these types of exercises. They've been in touch with that before.
Yeah.
It's not a new thing. Like if I say to someone, I want you to keep your trail arm, not going over Cam Smith gets too narrow, right?
Yep.
And he wants to keep it at 90 degrees. Well, if someone's been doing a lot of exercises, like a bit of overhead shoulder presses or whatever, they understand what it's like to have that at 90 degrees and they've got that feedback already.
Yeah, 100%.
That's that. I think it's really easy to work with that. Now, tell me a little bit about rotational type of training for the golfer.
Yep.
Is it necessary that they get in there? Do they have to grab the cable machine, put it at, oblique height, hold their arms out straight and do kind of some oblique stuff? How important is rotational work, or is it not important, rotational work, to a golfer? Because that's kind of recreating a golf swing.
Yeah.
What's that part?
So when we look at golf specific, you've got to look at all of the parts of that, right? So you might have someone, for example, they swing at 105 miles an hour. So there is very little in the gym that you can move at 105 miles an hour. So automatically the goal.
They couldn't. They did nothing.
No, I don't think you could. Honestly, it'd be funny to try and get people to try and move something like that, but
it'd be fucking dangerous.
It would be very dangerous. So automatically, your specificity is now just taking a huge hit. So you've got to make sure that you are doing things that are going to transfer across to the course or the swing. So for me, the first thing is I go, okay, well, what level is this person at? And do I want to add more rotation to their program already? Like if I have a range rat that wants to hit 1,000 balls a week, and maybe they're a teenager and still growing, or maybe whatever it is, do I want to add more rotation to someone who's already got 1,000 rotations in their week? Is that I've got to do my risk assessment? I'm like, okay, am I going to play a role here in giving them some form of injury because I'm just trying to add more speed or more whatever to that? So that's the first thing I look at. The second thing is, okay, if they're moving relatively fast, maybe I want to add a little bit more. If we look at that strength curve or the force velocity curve, maybe I want to move down the other side and give them heavy rotational work because they've already got the fast side sorted, right? Yeah. If I quote Sasha McKenzie, we don't do any opposite-sided swing stuff, like physically with speed sticks and all the rest of it, but I will do opposite-sided, isometrics or even some banded cable stuff, just for, not because I think it's going to help them swing anymore or decelerate or do any of that stuff, but I do like the fact we train both sides of the body, despite the fact the body is not designed to be in perfect symmetry. People are always chasing symmetry, which the body's just not designed for it. The heart is not symmetrical. We have a right-sided dominant side. So it's just not designed. Most people have a different discrepancy in their leg length. Chasing perfect symmetry is just, again, it falls between those parameters, right? As long as you're within these parameters. And there's a famous thing with Usain Bolt where he produces, I think it's about 13% more on one of his legs than the other legs through there. And they were just like, you know what? That's just is what it is. If we try and change that, there's a risk that we ruin one of the best athletes that the world has seen.
Mate, I was talking to a guy today via email about some certain needs a player, and he lives in Madrid, and he just pretty much listed all this stuff he wanted to get done, and it was all chasing perfect. And I said to him, wrote back to him, what's perfect? Number one ball striker in the world, and probably going to be potentially of our lifetime, which is Scotty Scheffler, how good he's hitting it. Is his footwork perfect? Is John Rahm's short laid-off backswing perfect? Is Cam Smith's backswing across the line perfect? Because I want to find out what's perfect. And I left him with that.
Yeah.
Because he's chasing perfect. And I said, stop chasing perfect, because there's no such thing as perfect. But it's interesting you talk about that sides not being equal, because myself obviously being a golfer, and when I do some certain exercises in the gym and I'll swap sides, like even if I'm doing some, let's talk about oblique work.
Yep.
I can do my left side oblique muscle until I'm yawning.
Yep.
Because of the extension I do through that. Like literally, I'll be sitting there and I just stop counting. And then I do my right side and I can't get anything out of it because it's weak, right? And when I went to a recent physio session, I couldn't go to my normal physio. I just tweaked my neck playing with the kids. And the physio just wrapped his arms around me. I went through a few exercises and he said, just twist. And he fell over my shoulder. And he said, holy shit, you have some rotational speed. I said, mate, I don't train it. It's just from golf.
That's it.
And he goes, I'll be ready. I'll be ready next time. He goes, I'll be ready next time. So he goes, all right, do it again. And he like braced his feet underneath the floor. And I'm only a little guy. And he just, it was interesting to kind of see that. So that's interesting because there's already enough there. And I think as well, when you talk about something in regards to, you know, a lot of that speed there is about making sure the rest of the body can hold that speed.
100%.
Would you kind of agree? Like there's no deficiencies is more important than anything.
Well, I mean, part of getting speed is making sure you've just got no leakages through the system. So if you can tighten that up, you don't necessarily have to dump anything more on top. You can just add by subtracting, so subtract all of the leakages. So whether or not, you know, ribs are flaring away from the hips and therefore you're kind of leaking through that, middle canister we call about it, or maybe just getting in the gym and getting a better awareness, and so your sequencing and your kinematics become better so you can pick up more speed that way without actually having to do more of the physical kind of speed work. So that's the first thing. Because, you don't really want to dump speed work on top of a system that is just holding on to the end of its capacity, and then you're trying to bump that capacity up without that. You're going to run into, I did this and now I can't play for 3 weeks because, you know, my back hurts and I've got to go see the physio or chiro or whatever that is. So very much making sure that whatever you're going to give it, it can hold up to it, because, as I said, whether even a recreational golfer, if you take them out for a month, you don't keep your job very long. And you keep it even less when you do that to tour players, and they're like, "Mate, I can't play. This is bullshit. Like, I'm out."
Yeah, and it's I've actually we've spoken about one of the players today, and there's an injury with him recently,
right,
over the summer period, you know, and took him out, you know, couldn't play, couldn't practice, just through being a little bit silly in the gym. And you got to be careful in there for sure. You got to kind of, I guess, outline your goals as well. Now, tell me, when people, want to start their journey to, exercising as a golfer, listening, just want to start their health and fitness journey, right?
Yep.
And to me, you know what's been really cool about this podcast, Matt, right, is I had one with Mr. Richard Woodhouse. And
I'm familiar with Rich.
Yeah, Richard gets up at 3 a.m. and goes to the gym every day, right? Mm-hmm. And he is a freak, and we shared a few of our routines, right, in regards to what we do. And now I've had probably 15 people reach out to me who now go to the gym before their kids wake up, because that's what I do, right?
Wow, yeah.
And I think it's fantastic. I think it's really, really good. And what I like about that is, you know, we're making a difference, right? We're making a change.
Yep.
But what I also want people to understand is that, you know, going to the gym, it's not that important to lift really heavy weights, is it? No,
it's really not.
Like form is so much more important when working on an exercise in the gym than it is lifting heavy weights.
Yeah. So
and no one in the gym cares about how much you're lifting. No one cares. Don't you reckon?
We always get caught in this spotlight, this phenomenon where we think everyone's looking at us or judging us, and honestly, no one cares. And in our gym, we have this saying, and we're just like, you know, as long as you're coming in and you're working to what you can work to, like, no one cares. Like, honestly, just get on with it. Like, you're not that important, and we say that in the nicest way possible, but like, you're just not that important. No one really cares. And
because they're too worried about them fucking selves anyway to worry about you.
Exactly. We're all the same. And it's actually, someone said this to me the other day. They're like, "Can you tell me the last time you saw someone embarrassing themselves?" And I was like, if I really tried, I might be able to. But I couldn't really think of something off the top of my head. And the point was, when you embarrass yourself, you think, oh, my God, everyone saw that. Everyone saw me trip over or trip up the stairs. No one cares. And if they saw it, they forget it in the next 10 seconds. Like, they're too involved in their own lives to care, you know, what you're doing or who you are, or all the rest of it. So on that point, I guess, with the heavy weights, there is a certain level of athlete that you will push to, you know, start to lift heavy weights, because we've got the kind of the newbie gains we've got out of that, and now we need to actually generate some more stimulus through there. But it's not something that I give people straight away. The overarching thing you need to remember is that all I'm looking for is adaptation. So what is the minimum weight that I can give you to get the adaptation that I want? And the adaptation is, if I want you to be able to contract your muscles a little bit faster, well, then I need to give you some speed power work, whatever that is. Now, if we're looking to grow muscle a little bit, it's like I've got a kid at the moment, and so we were just talking here. I think he's playing New South Wales AM, and I guess part of he's got, even though he's only amateur, he's got a team like he would a PGA. So he's got coach in the group chat, he's got me, he's got his dad, physio, whatever. And so we're all across everything, and we have these conversations. And the coach is like, listen, I genuinely think his swing speed is too fast for his size and his current strength. He's like, he's getting in bad positions, and he can't control it through there. So that's something now we go, right, well, what do we need to do? What's the minimum effective thing I can give this kid who's only 17? I don't want him particularly loading up, 100 kilos on a squat trying to get heavy that way. Like, we got to figure out the minimum effective dose for the adaptation that I want. So maybe it's size. So maybe I'm going a little bit, let's drop the weight down a little bit, and we're going to smash a bunch of reps. So we're going to work to failure. Or I'm going to throw the blood flow restriction cuff on so we can drop the weight down further again, and give those muscles just a bath of chemical reactions.
Yes, sounds like this kid just needs to go on the carnivore diet and just get max out at 12 reps or whatever, just kind of get some strength. And I've been there. I work with one of the best kids in Ireland. Yep. And we've had him on a gym the last 2 years, and he's just putting on so much size. And we started doing speed work Christmas this year for the first time, and he is about to turn 17. And we've gone from 105 to 118.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. He's cruising on his quad now at like 115, 116, but we got him up to like 118, 119. I think he's broken the 120, but not for a period of time. But anyways, that's kind of, we're putting in speed into him now that he's stronger.
See, if I can elaborate on that, I guess it's an interesting point for people to understand is that, if you come to me or someone similar, I shouldn't just be whacking speed directly on top. So if you swing at 112 miles per hour, the centrifugal force of a driver will be at impact, about 60 kilograms. So the club's wants to pull you that way with the force of roughly about 60 kilos. So you need the scap control and the awareness and the strength to keep those. Otherwise, if you start to lengthen that out, the brain's very good. And again, without leaving my lane golf coaching too much, we're going to have some form of early extension or back out of the way because we've gone from whatever the driver length was with arms, and we've extended it because we're getting pulled forward. And so there has to be some form of change down the chain at some point. Do you agree?
So what? 100%. And I spoke to this kid's dad about it. His kid lives in New York, about his speed at the time. And I said he needs to put some size on before he can add speed.
Yep.
Because I don't want him to lose his form.
Yeah.
I got the best 6-iron player on the planet. I don't need him, and he's got arms the size of toothpicks.
Yep.
We need to get him a little stronger. Talk to me about scap control. What does that mean?
Well, there's a bunch of muscles that attach to the scaps, 17 in total, and that's essentially.
What's the scaps? Start with the scaps.
Shoulder blades.
It's okay.
Yep.
Shoulder blades. Good.
Shoulder blades.
Okay. Good.
So then they are going to control a lot of what happens from essentially the takeaway all the way through to impact and beyond. So, how they work is going to dictate whether or not you've got enough external rotation of that trail side. And now you'll be able to talk a little bit more, Tobes, about what happens. I call it probably unfairly the old man swing, where that trail shoulder sits kind of up and internally rotated because they've been at a desk for 50 years, shuts the club face a touch. They take it back. They've got very little trail hip rotation. Not a lot of thoracic stuff, so they're short, almost John Rahm short, just without the power to actually then make that work. Club face is shut, and from there, their brain goes, geez, I've got to jump on this if I'm going to get it anywhere. They kind of smother it over the top because they can't get that shoulder back and kind of working on plane. So that scap, if we can get that right scap to kind of work back and down a little bit more, that'll allow that external rotation, and then it'll just kind of drop in there. Now, if we go back to Sasha McKenzie, if you can add 12 centimeters to your hand path, you can add 2.7 miles per hour for 12 centimeters.
Yes. Yes. And so when he's talking, when Matt's talking there about internally rotated the shoulder. So if people listening to this, you're sitting at the desk and your arms are kind of sitting forward on the desk, you'll feel like your shoulders are looking more inward. It's kind of what he's talking about there. And then when we take the club away, when our shoulders start really inward, we kind of retract the right arm really far behind us, like you're starting a lawnmower. And then that's we see some really poor tendencies through there. A lot of club face management as well as speed management, and really, really challenging to kind of hold your situation through there. Talk to me a little bit about, okay, so we've covered, squats, we've covered a bit of rotational work there, a bit of scapular work. Talk to me about pre-round warm-up and the breakdown between stretching, body movement types of exercises, static stretching, dynamic stretching. What do you think it should look like as a generic? I know each individual person is separately, but if someone's going to the golf club to play tomorrow, how should it look?
So I have it's essentially like an upside down. How I teach my guys is an upside down pyramid. So at the top, you've got your PGA Tour workout or your professional workout, which is essentially about 30 minutes. And that's where you're looking at Cam or Lucas or Cassie, whoever, are going to get to the course 2 hours beforehand. They'll have something to eat, which is put on for them. They'll kick around, mark their balls. The reality is, if we're rolling in on a Wednesday or a Saturday, no one's getting there 2 hours early to do a full warm-up. It's impossible.
Yeah, it's as if our wives are going to allow that to happen. Come on.
Yeah, correct. So then you dial it down to, okay, well, do you have 20 minutes? Can you get there 20 minutes beforehand? Now, my club, the Brisbane Golf Club, we've set up a movement space, which has got, all the stuff you would need to warm up. Clubs are getting more and more on top of this. They understand that if they can get their members to do some form of exercise or warm-ups, they play better golf, they're more likely to pay their memberships for longer. So it's a business decision. So you'll see more and more of these spaces pop up. So do you have 10, 15, 20 minutes you can go in there and start doing something? And the last one is, well, either you do something on the first tee, I don't recommend it, but also if that's all I've got, that's what I've got to take, right? So let's be effective in the 3 minutes. Yes, you might have to get some jeering from your mates and like, oh, look at this athlete, what are you doing that for, whatever. But, that's a small trade-off to not have low back pain or, not be out for a month and not be able to play because you've got a wrist issue because you haven't done anything. Yeah. So that's the first thing I explain to people. Then we want to look at, okay, we want to stimulate without annihilating. So your warm-up should be, okay, let's get everything moving. Let's get some blood flow. Let's get some heat. Let's get things, the ability to contract quickly, because that's what golf is. It's a power sport. So you want to work things through the range of motion. So get rid of the old 70s and 80s, kind of lean over and stretch your hamstrings for 40 seconds. You're going to decrease your power output for about an hour after that. So work it through range. We talk about picking the daisies. And then I always finish with do some scap work, so get them under control, so you feel like, okay, I know where the club face is, because again, if you can hit the middle of the club face, that's going to be one of the things that's going to determine club head speed transferring to ball speed from there. So there is a certain equation for every square centimeter you're off the middle of the club face, you lose ball speed. 1.27 miles, I think it is, something like that.
Yep.
So the awareness of where that is through the scaps is important. Then you've got to finish with some form of jump. Now that could just be standing there and try and touch your head on the roof. Like try and get your vertical ground forces going. And I know that's only one of a number of ground forces that we have in the swing, but you can't kind of do everything. And then you're ready to play.
Yeah. So less static stuff. You think that kind of goes away. More like you talk about dynamic there, we call picking up the daisies. So you're kind of going up and down to stretch your hamstrings, up and down, up and down.
Yep.
Some explosive stuff, and then some stuff there around kind of your wrists, getting your wrists sorted out as well.
So whether or not that's, holding a club at length and just kind of gently working through that rotation stuff there. Just trying to get your body ready to go. If I was trying to, ruin a back, I would have someone sit in an office for 6 hours and then, hop in their BMW, whatever, pull up at the club, literally grab their bag out of their boot, throw it over one shoulder. So now you're loading one side of the body, walk to the first tee, pull out driver, and literally swing at 100 mile an hour. Like, that is just a recipe for disaster. And yet we see it week in, week out, and people wonder why they start double, and they're like, oh, I kind of feel like I've worked into it now. Or they're like, geez, that really hurt. Like, I've twinged something there. No doubt.
Yeah. And it's not so much as well when we talk about injury prevention, people might have been thinking about involving that as well, is that our body is very adaptable. So if it's about to move into a certain range of movement that it's not comfortable with because it's not ready, it's going to back up and out, or it's not going to commit to that movement, and we're going to hit wild shots.
Yep.
So then when our body's not ready for us to hold the certain positions that we require, so it's going to do some wild things. It's going to cause a bit of mayhem,
Absolutely.
And that's where our wild stuff can come from. It's not so much because, I'm just getting my eye in. It's because you haven't got your body in.
Yep. It'll protect itself at all costs.
100% it will. It's very, very smart. Your brain is very smart. It'll jump out a lot. Now, tell me, I take to the notion that stretching mainly stretches tissue and fascia and not muscle.
Yep.
Do you agree?
I do. The research is pretty much 50-50. If you're looking to increase your flexibility as such, training through a full range of motion has been shown to do the same effect as stretching through there. So when you pick up your weights and you do, your bench press or whatever that is, getting that full range will have the same effect over time as just stretching your pec through that isometric kind of hold and go from there. So it really depends on who you subscribe to for that, whether or not you want it. If you really like the isometric stuff, have at it. Like, I'm not going to take it away from you, but I also want you to work through your full range, because you need that body to be able to have strength at length. That's really what I'm looking for there. So I'm probably more in the camp of less static stretching. And, I don't really do any warm down stuff with my guys. If you want to go for a walk or whatever, your body will naturally warm down. But I want you working through full range of motion when we're actually in the gym from there. And that's just, progressive overload, not going silly early on, just starting where we definitely know we can do it, and then build our way up while we keep good form. Yeah,
so good hydration or good water. Good water is key too.
Yeah.
Stop drinking tap water, people.
There hasn't been a great deal of studies, because I said sports science is a little bit behind in golf, but there's been a couple with the hydration stuff. And once you get about 2% dehydrated, and that's measured with your total body weight. So if you weigh 100 kilos, if you lose 2 kilos, you're now 2% dehydrated. You hit. I've got to be careful here. I've got to get the numbers right. You will hit the ball shorter, you'll hit it wider, and your perception of how far the shot is will change because you're dehydrated.
And also, like, a lot of the world's population right now is dehydrated, and it's not just water, it's the minerals. So it's the minerals and the vitamins and, the magnesiums, all this type of stuff that's lacking, that's getting stripped out of the tap water and stripped out of our foods. It's all chemically filled. So a lot of people, I believe, through my studies, is dehydration. It's not just typically water. Go whack some salt in there. Whack some salt in the water. Whack some plastic-free salt if you can. Get yourself hydrated. Don't just think that water is a hydration tool. And there's better hydration tools out there than a Gatorade, in my opinion.
Yep.
Do you think so?
Yeah. I mean, I with all of my guys, Gatorade is just such an expensive way to go about it. What are you paying, $5 or $6 a Gatorade?
For cordial.
Which you got a Hydrolyte, which I think it's about $1 a tablet or something like that. So a much better way to go about it. So, and I don't get the big, particularly with the golfers, we don't get that big sugar high or the dump of sugar, and then you're up, and then what goes up must come down. So we tend to see you get all the stuff in the Hydrolyte without the big sugar dump. So it's just better on every front.
And just whack a little spoonful of salt into your water, like a little teaspoon of salt, and just to help you rehydrate. All sodium's gone. But Matt, it's been fun.
It's been really fun, Matt.
Yeah. I've learnt a lot. So Tell me about you've been working with this young kid named Matt Vancliffe.
Yep. I'm sure he'll appreciate being called young.
Oh, he's not young, is he? Is he a good trainer?
He is, mate. He is, I reckon, one of the best that I've seen in terms of his application to it. You know, he's like, right. He's very self-sufficient. This is what I want. I was like, right, here we go. He is never late. Pitches up, just does exactly as you tell him, flat out. And we've seen the benefits of that too when he came to me. So we've known each other for a couple of years, and then his management team, they said, listen, you're signing with us. We use this guy in the States. So he did that. In the end, wasn't the right match for him. And that's very important when you need your athletes, or to create for your athletes, buy-in. They need to believe that you believe in the program and the program works and you have their best interests at heart. And if you can't do that, then you can have the world's best program, but it's just not going to be worth the paper that's written on. So in the end, that didn't work out for them. And he came to me and was like, listen, I'm swinging at like 111, 112. And he was playing on the European Tour at the time, and said, the tidy guy said, I'm losing X amount of strokes per round because I think it was 12 yards below the average. Can we do something about this? Absolutely, we can. So that's where it comes in. I have a conversation with coach. Righto, what are you seeing? Where do you think I can fit in here? I want to make sure we're all pulling in the same direction or pushing in the same direction. And that's a big thing for me, because otherwise coach is pulling in one direction, I'm pulling in another, and then the athlete's the poor person in the middle paying both of us, going nowhere. So it's important that we create that team atmosphere, that you've got open lines of communication and everyone's doing the right stuff. So we did our program.
Did you get some speed?
We did. We're up at about 119, I think we had on the sim the other day.
How
did we get speed? Yep. We were using essentially a model template from West Side for Skinny Bastards is what it's called, which is Joe DeFranco out of the States. So So I modified that slightly, and we were hitting 4 sessions a week, and we split those sessions into a power session, lower body, maximum effort, lower body reps, and then an upper reps as well. And so we hit everything. We built the system. We basically built him a bigger engine. And then we were using some Sasha McKenzie, the stack system as well, once a week. So we put our data in through there. And a lot of that is just his application, though. He comes in and he gives 100%. He's like, right, this is what we're doing. This is what I've got. Bang, bang, bang. And away we go. So we had... I don't know what time period that was of, November through to, I think he left March, April maybe, and had a big stint over there. So yeah, it might have been five months, something like that.
Did you have to, with upping his training load, up his calorie intake?
I didn't touch it too much. I was usually just checking in with stuff. Okay, righto, how are you feeling? He was turning up to training. He was giving me good efforts. So it's only when someone then goes, righto, well, I'm really flat. You're not able to hit the percentages that I want you to hit. I'm looking at the force plate data. I'm going, man, we're going negative here. What's going on? Then I would look at, okay, well, how's your sleep protocol? How much food are we eating? You know, are you taking your creatine, protein? Excuse me. And none of that was really bringing up any red flags for me. So I was just, let's leave it. You seem to be putting on size. And so I think it was a natural thing that just, he was just like, well, I'm just going to eat some more.
Interesting. Love that. Creatine, important supplement.
It's hugely important.
What does it do for us?
All right. So creatine has over 1,000 peer-reviewed studies on it, and it is, in terms of supplements we can take, it's probably got the highest safety protocol we know. And I'm yet to find a demographic that it doesn't have some positive event for.
Yep.
So it's got stuff. I'm actually, when I leave here, I'm going to the gym with the staff, and we're filming a video on this because we were trying to get it out to. We were just sick of having the same conversation with everyone. We're just going to make a video on it. It increases your memory and your cognitive performance. It's got some researchers behind it too. Decreases depression and increases your mood. It helps you do more work in the gym and faster recovery. So it's naturally occurring. But the ability to get it, so you find it in your lean meats, so your fishes, your chickens, your beef, your pork, But to get the levels of saturation, you physically just can't eat enough food to get in there. So all we're doing is just taking this externally to saturate the muscle and give us more through there. So it helps with memory. It's just, there's so much stuff that it's positive for.
Yeah, one of my favorite doctors, Dr. James, over in the States, his last name leaves me. He talks about he talks about creatine. He's like, it's not just for muscle building. He said it's great for everyone to take every day.
Yep.
I take it every day now.
Yep. Bone density for post-menopausal women as well. It just seems to be, and I mean the biggest thing, I think, a selling point, I guess, is that it's so cheap per serve. So I think you buy a kilo for maybe, I don't know, what, $40, something like that, and you get 200 serves. 200 serves in that. So because it's only a 5 gram serve, and if you're not going to use a loading period, which the research is kind of I haven't looked at it in a while, but up in arms whether you use the loading period for 2 weeks or you just a normal daily thing, and it'll take you slightly longer to get to saturation, but it's neither here or there. You might
just carry too much around the belly, too much water, and the belly will hold if you have too much, I reckon.
And it's not on any banned lists, no WADA stuff, none of that. Like, it's just, if you're not using it, whether you're just a general pop or even an athlete, you are just leaving so much on the table. So I think for like $60 a year, I reckon you can get all your serves sorted.
No, I agree, mate. So can people come see you, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't do as much online stuff as you. I do send out some programs, and it's something I'm open to doing if people wanted to do that. But for the most part, if you're local or you travel to Brisbane every now and then, like I got people who come in once every 2 months, whether they just be the golfing general public or athletes who are kind of over in the States, and I'll come back and we do all the check-ins and stuff like that. So yeah, we're in Brisbane. You can find us on Instagram. So my gym is WinkFit Gym. But I actually kind of separated that because I was cautious about posting too much golf stuff on the general gym stuff. So I created Gym to Green, which is where you can find my golf.
Gym to Green. Nice play on words. I always hear people's net words and I go, where'd you come up with that one? Gym to Green. Nice connection and fly. I bet you when you heard that, you went, this is it.
This is it. I got it.
I can't believe no one's using this.
Wait, this is available? This is amazing.
Elon Musk, you're gone. All right, so that's cool. And you know what? People who want to get into exercise, health and fitness, and you're a golfer, it's a no-brainer, right? To work with someone whose golf specialty, and also can help you get fit, because you mentioned as well that a lot of your stuff isn't so much goal specific, it's like getting athletic based, right?
Yeah,
and
100%.
I work with a lot of athletes, and I work with a lot of like NRL players or professional surfers, and these types of people who land on my teaching team in person. I guess people say, oh, they're so athletic, that's why they're good. Well, it's because of a lot of their background as well, and their training and stuff, their body awareness that they're doing. So, it can help improve all that areas of your life, and all of us can do with getting a little bit healthier. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's the long game too, right? Like, who wants to live to 90 if the last 20 years, if the quality is just through the floor? Like, you want to do the hard work now so that you actually can. Because at the end of the day, golf is just a game, and it's great to be able to improve that and play a little bit better. But materialistically, the amount of people that come into me and they're like, I want to be able to get up and down off the floor to play with my grandkids, or I want to be able to actually travel and do stairs in Positano or whatever it is. It's like that's the meaningful stuff as well. So. Mate, look at the Champions Tour, mate. You watch the leaderboard; it's like just full of PGA Tour guys who've just kept themselves in such great shape. And I was giving a lesson to a guy the other day who just stopped drinking 17 years ago, and he's 63 or whatever, and he just jumps around around like a little bunny rabbit. And I want to play Master Pennants. Yep. So I want to get hand in my my teaching and become an amateur and play Master Pennants. So I think you can actually play as a pro now, but I want to be ready. So that's my goal. I want to be ready for Master Pennants, and I want to be mobile. And that's kind of it's more about the long game for me. 100%.
I'm not in there to pick up the chicks. I've already got my wife. It's about looking after the body. But anyways, mate, I'll put all the show notes below, in the show notes below, some stuff to kind of, reach out to you if anyone's keen, and
Absolutely.
Follow you on your socials as well, and keep up with all the tour guys and a young man, Matt Winkley, young one, and Cassie Porter going over in the States. Yeah, man, I really enjoy this, and it's been fun. I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely, mate. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.